Citizens of Gaza cannot assemble in protest of their own government, cannot do or say what they want, or practice whatever religion they want, or have a free press. All rights guaranteed in just our First Amendment. The irony is in all this is that the world the founders birthed, flawed though it may be, provides the bedrock for everything that makes life good for the very people who hate them so much.
Bill Maher unleashed sharp criticism on the younger generation, calling them out for their disdain toward America and their tendency to blame the nation for every global crisis. The outspoken comedian didn't hold back, delivering one cutting remark after another aimed at dismantling the fragile mindset of the woke youth. Brace yourself, things are about to get intense.
Democrats did this year was finding their patriotism again. If you told me a year ago that if Kamala Harris would be the nominee and in her acceptance speech she would use the word privilege, I would not have guessed that she used it the way she did.
The greatest privilege on earth. The privilege and pride of being an American.
Yeah, and Tim Walz also began his speech with a great line saying, "We're all here tonight for one beautiful, simple reason. We love this country." And yet this message doesn't seem to be catching on with a lot of the younger people. None of them are standing up and screaming, "That's my country!" Quite the reverse. Quite the reverse. The protests that started off as justice for Palestine have morphed into a broader kind of America is the problem.
The young woke crowd didn't develop their disdain for America on their own. It was inherited. They grew up watching parents, professors, and so-called opinion leaders ridicule the nation at every opportunity. Over time, that cynicism sank in, and now they wear it proudly, as if contempt were a badge of honor. The hypocrisy is obvious, too. We've all seen celebrities threaten to abandon the country simply because it won't cater to their every demand. From insisting biological men should compete in women's sports to championing extreme abortion policies, the younger generation has absorbed it all, only to echo it back louder, angrier, and more ungrateful than ever.
Palestine rally in Seattle, and when the rapper Macklemore said, "F America," everybody loved it.
Yeah, America.
Yeah, I'm sure it was a big hit with the Queers for Gaza crowd, literally advocating for a government that would imprison you or kill you for being queer, from the safety and security of a country that...
Ma calls out the blatant absurdity in the mindset of the woke youth who despise America simply for supporting Israel in the Middle East. In their twisted logic, the United States is cast as the real terrorist, while Hamas, the very group they defend, gets a free pass. The irony is almost unbelievable. These same activists waving rainbow flags fail to grasp that Hamas, if given the chance, would persecute or even erase them for being queer. Ma slices through the delusion, pointing out that their blind hatred of America places them in alignment with forces that openly reject their very existence.
In the world where a white guy from the suburbs could become a millionaire rapper, because here every person, regardless of race, class, or gender, has the right to be talent-free. And guess what document allows you to protest and chant, "Hey, hey, ho, ho," followed by something really stupid? Yeah. Constitution Day was last week. It's an actual federal holiday, but no one noticed, despite the fact that it's probably the greatest legal document ever. Is it flawed? Of course. It was written by humans, and they were all white men, as depicted in this illustration from Google AI.
What the woke youth often overlook is that, despite its imperfections, America still stands as one of the greatest nations on earth when it comes to freedom and opportunity. No other country offers the same level of protection, privilege, and possibility. The American dream is very much alive. It just requires grit, sacrifice, and hard work. Anyone willing to push forward can rise above their circumstances. That promise isn't just empty rhetoric. It's anchored in the Constitution, a document designed by the Founding Fathers to safeguard liberty for generations. Instead of tearing the country down, maybe it's time to recognize the extraordinary rights and opportunities that millions around the world can only dream of.
ideas in it. I won't hold my breath for that because only 14% of 8th graders are proficient in history now, and only 22% in civics, which may be why 4 in 10 Gen Zers say the authors of the Constitution are best described as villains. Wow. It's amazing, since in 1776, James Monroe was 18. Alexander Hamilton was 21 and James Madison 25. Joe Biden was only 30.
No more takedown would be complete without a shot at President Joe Biden's age. For years, Maher has been one of the few voices on the left willing to say out loud what many only whisper, that Biden isn't just getting older, he's clearly slipping. While Democrats tried selling the image of a sharp and steady leader, Maher kept raising the red flag. He highlighted the gaffes, the stumbles, and the confused moments that others brushed aside. Love him or hate him, Maher refused to play along with the charade, and he was sounding that alarm long before the mainstream dared to admit it.
They were the Gen Z of their day. And when they were your age, they started a country. What the fuck have you done? So no, the Constitution isn't perfect because it wasn't written by Taylor Swift, but and yes, the founders made excruciating compromises. Obviously, slavery. But slavery was a deal breaker for the southern states. So there would have been two countries. And then to end slavery in North America, it would have involved invading a sovereign nation instead of having the moral high ground of keeping a union together. Would that have been better? History's complicated. And
Maher calls out what he sees as one of the biggest blind spots in woke Gen Z's thinking, their obsession with judging the founding fathers through today's moral lens. They weaponize slavery as a way to condemn the framers of the Constitution, as if men building a fragile new nation should have acted with the benefit of 21st century hindsight. Maher argues that the founders knew abolishing slavery outright would have shattered the young republic before it could survive. Was it morally flawless? No, but it was a calculated decision to preserve unity and allow room for progress. The Constitution itself planted the seeds of eventual freedom. Instead of acknowledging that historical complexity, woke Gen Z dismisses the founders as villains, ignoring the imperfect yet visionary foundation that made today's liberties possible.
Really just simplistic. They know two things. White people did some very bad things and... No, that's it. That's all they do.
Maher doesn't place all the blame on Gen Z for their warped view of history. He points straight at Hollywood. For decades, the film industry has pumped out slavery-themed movies that exaggerate, embellish, and dramatize events for emotional punch and box office appeal. That's Hollywood's job. Entertain first, inform second. Even so-called documentaries often tilt towards sensationalism, tweaking narratives just enough to spark outrage and draw bigger audiences. The problem is, younger viewers rarely apply critical thinking. They absorb these dramatized scenes as if they were objective history lessons. Woke Gen Z then takes those distortions, turns them into rallying cries, and parrots them as gospel truth. Instead of digging into the complexities of history, they're echoing Hollywood scripts, and Maher isn't afraid to call that out.
Too. But I also know other things. Like how in 1776, slavery was a lot like flying private today. If you could afford to, you would have done it too. Everybody did it, of all races, throughout history, in the Bible, and all over the world. If you hate George Washington for slavery, are you prepared to hate the woman king? Because her empire was built on it too. And where do you imagine is this place, outside of your brilliant, pure minds, that's so much better than America? At least America self-corrects, a mechanism for which was actually written in...
Maher's right. The loudest voices condemning the Founding Fathers for failing to abolish slavery immediately often ignore the reality of history. If those same critics had lived in the 18th century, chances are they would have done no better, perhaps even worse, because slavery wasn't just tolerated, it was the norm. Nearly every major figure of the past, from philosophers to monarchs to generals, was tied to slavery in some way. That doesn't excuse the practice, but it does place it in context. The founders were products of their time, yet they still produced a constitution that planted the seeds for eventual abolition. Instead of tearing them down with modern outrage, we should recognize the flawed but groundbreaking vision they set in motion.